Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today in this video, we are going to talk about ON1 NoNoise AI 2021. It's finally out. It's supposed to get out about 2 weeks ago. For some reason, they were late, but here we are. And today, I'm going to demonstrate how this software exactly works, the result, and then we are going to compare that side by side with Topaz Denoise AI and DXO PURERAW. Now, before I get into that video in details, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot to continue this program. And also, for those folks who has hearing problem, I'm going to create a custom-made subtitle with the Dragon nuance because I don't really trust the automatic version of YouTube subtitle. So I'm going to create a custom-made subtitle for those folks who would like to have this video on a proper wording subtitle. So give me a week and it should be ready. And finally, I'm also going to show you how this software works with Affinity Photo as a plugin. So sit back, enjoy, and let me show you how the software works. Now, before I get into it, it has a 14-day trial available. So head into their website and try it out before you buy it. And it costs in Europe about 61.06 euro. That is a very interesting number, 06. I don't really get it. But anyway, you have it available. Now, let's stop the jibber jabber and show you the actual work. Now, here we are. The ON1 NoNoise AI is on. Now let me show you which photos that I'm going to demonstrate. Now I have 3 photos available here. Now first one, it's a 1-inch sensor at ISO 3200. This is just really bad. Let me show you exactly what we are looking at. Now this is the original photo. And look at the noise, it's just really bad. Let me zoom in quite a bit. Let's say about 200% so that you can actually see exactly the amount of noise. It's just horrible. I mean, 1-inch sensor at 3200 ISO, obviously it meant to be super noisy. So this is going to be a challenge and is also a good example to show you how powerful the ON1 NoNoise AI is. And I also going to compare that with this photo, a Topaz Denoise Severe Noise version. So Severe Noise, it's the newest one in Topaz Denoise AI, which meant to do a fantastic job, and it does. And a version of DXO D Prime. So obviously this is going to be fun. Now, if we head to the software, is going to have a pop-up saying open photos. Now you click open photos and select your photo. So I'm going to select the raw file of Panasonic 3200. It takes some time, depends on your computer obviously. Mine one is not really bad honestly, and obviously if you downloading it as a customer or the trial version, it will give you your learning hub where you can actually see some kind of quick start, some kind of helpful tools. So I'm going to close it. And then immediately you have a side-by-side option available. Now, before I go into the sliders, let me give you a quick tour. On top, you have the file where you can do quick export and export. And then you have the edit and the preference. I recommend you to go to the preference and set everything as prefer. Personally, for the file format, I would like to change it to TIFF. Of course, because I don't have Photoshop. However, because Affinity Photo also accepts PSD, so of course you can also export in PSD. But remember, if you use PSD, you have the support layer. The TIFF and JPEG do not support layers. So that's a very important part that you need to remember. Then you have the plugins. I have the plugin file type as DNG, extremely important, is because the DNG is the next best thing after RAW, so which is very important. And the system, obviously I put everything in highest, like 80% usage, so that it does not slow down. A performance video card, I put it into the middle. Now, of course, depends on your graphics card. I recommend you to change it. And everything else stays as default. So I'm gonna close it. And then of course you have the layer mode, photo, the mask, settings, view, window, and help. So play with all those things once you have it. Now, of course, there are many other tools available around, but we are here at the default version, like the automatic noise reduction. So how does it work? So obviously it immediately shows you side by side how is the before and how is after, right? And you can clearly see it does a very good job. Now, of course, you have the cropping here. Once you are done, you can click done at the bottom, and then you can do multiple other changes. And of course, you have the masking here. So don't be scared looking at those tools. They're very useful. Now, in the noise reduction by automatic, you have the luminance at 99%. The reason behind, remember, this is a 1-inch sensor. So obviously, it's using the maximum settings available because it needs a lot of noise reduction. You can clearly see side by side. And enhance detail. Now this is interesting. Keep an eye on the water drops. Now I'm going to go down to 0, give it some time, and then you can clearly see that actually it got a little blurry, right? Like it's a lot of details has been lost. So I'm going to bring it back to where it was. I think it was in 50. You can clearly see that it looks nice and sharp. But if I go to 100, it gets a little too sharp. So we don't want that for the sake of quality, because sometimes too much is not very good. And the color noise, obviously, again, if I go back to 0, you can see the crazy chroma noise. It's just not very pleasant. If I go to 50, you still have a little bit of color noise. So obviously, I really trust the color noise reduction. Now, sharpening, that's something that very important, because remember, in a noise reduction world, you have to do the noise reduction before you do sharpening. It's extremely important. Now, how good is the sharpening? So here, it doesn't look like that it's been applied. Yes, it's set to 20, but it did not add any detail and threshold. So we're going to play with that a little bit. So I'm going to add detail of 2. Looks like it does a very good job, but you have to add a threshold. Personally, I like to add 1 or 2 maximum. What it does, it doesn't over sharpen the soft area like a bokeh area. It protects them and only adds sharpness into the edges. Now I'm going to go all the way to 50 just for to show you the example, like how strong is the sharpening. So we're going to go back to 0, wait a little bit, and then go back to 50 or 51, wait a little bit to see the change, and then all the way to 100. So you can see the sharpening here is not that super strong, only because I believe I added a threshold of 1. But that being said, this is still not as strong as when you add enhance detail. For instance, if I go back to 1 and pull up the enhance detail, that adds more sharpness than the actual sharpening slider, which is very interesting to know. So be careful when you're using the enhance detail slider. Be very careful with it. Once you are done editing, obviously, you can click previous sorry, you can click done, and it will automatically open a folder by default. So you select your folder and you click save. Obviously it's in French, so you're probably not understanding it. So enregister means save. So I'm going to close it because I already have a version available. So now it's in progress. It takes some time to develop it, and we are done here. Now we are going to test it side by side with Topaz Denoise AI and DXO PURERAW. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm going to close it now. Now here we are in SilkyPix Developer Studio Pro, where I'm going to open my photos. All the photos are here. So let me show you a quick tour. First one is our original raw. Second one, it's the ON1 NoNoise AI DNG. Third one is the Topaz Denoise AI Severe New version. Fourth one is the DXO Deep Prime version. So I'm going to skip that part, the first one, open the second one, and leave it on the side so that we can compare side by side. I'm going to close all the windows so we have extra space. This is the exciting part. I really love it. So now, here we are. This is the Topaz Denoise AI in our left hand side. So we're going to zoom in quite a bit. And in Topaz version, especially the severe noise, obviously that's the one that I had to use given the amount of noise the software, the photo had. So you can clearly see that NoNoise AI has better detail on the water drops. It has better sharpening. And interestingly enough, the color, I don't know if you can see it in your phone or computer screen because YouTube compress a lot, but the NoNoise, the green looks a lot greener, where the Topaz one looks a little more yellow. And if you compare the Topaz with the original, so this is the original, right? So comparing with the original, it has a lot similarity with the ON1, where the Topaz kind of make it to a little bit on the yellow side, right? So that's one observation that I have found. Now, what about the edges? If you look at the bokeh area, both did a very good job. It's nothing weird going on there. Now, if I even zoom into 100%, because this is where we should look at in any photos, obviously. This is 110, I like 100, so there you go. The edges doesn't have any kind of hollowing going on, any kind of distortion going on in any of those two. If you look at the water drop, ON1 has better detail in the water droplets, where the Topaz needs a little bit more sharpening. I guess this is the reason why they have the Topaz Sharpening AI, or if you have Photoshop, you can use Smart Sharpening. It's so easy. So I don't really worry about the sharpening part. Personally, I can add it later. What I care about, does it have any kind of weirdness, any kind of distortion, any kind of, all the usual problem of artificial intelligence. Now, Topaz, by default, remember, we didn't do any kind of editing in ON1. It's just automatic. Same is the Topaz Severe Noise. So in automatic mode, they're both doing a very good job. But although in the bokeh area, in the Topaz has a little bit of color noise still going on, I believe, where ON1 doesn't have anything, which did a very, very, very exceptional job. Now, I'm going to show you something interesting. Now, check at the luminance, the brightness. This one, on the right-hand side, the ON1 version, in the shadow area, has less detail, where in the Topaz, the shadow area has more detail. I don't know what's going on, but somehow it changed the luminance, the shadow or the highlight. I think it plays a role to show you things more sharp than it is, I believe. So that's what the ON1 did, where the Topaz did not change anything. Let me show you the original one. So that's our original. Obviously, you have the ON1, and this is the Topaz Denoise Severe version. So again, did you see the change? It's very interesting to look at. So yeah, I'm comparing with the original. This is the original. The Topaz didn't do any kind of crazy change in the shadow area, where the ON1 NoNoise AI did a little bit of change in the contrast. So this is our Topaz comparing with it. Now, what about DXO, PURERAW, D prime? Now, in 3, 2, 1, there you go. What do you think? So this is our 100% full screen, not 100%, the full fit zoom. Just by looking at it, the DXO looks a lot, actually a little too sharp than the ON1. ON1 has standard sharpness, but the DXO has a little too sharpness. If you look at the water droplets, for example, you can see that this is way too contrasty and shiny than the ON1. And if I go into the detail, let's go to 100% zoom. There you go. Now, in 100%, the DXO D prime has a lot more detail than the ON1, although check out the green area. In the green area, the ON1 looks a lot softer, shinier, I say, than the DXO part, DXO version. The DXO is either the actual detail or could be a minor amount of luminant noise. That being said, if you go to the edges, which is another important part, in the edges, the DXO has a better sharpness, but then again, in my taste, a little too much. I like to have somewhere in between, like the ON1, because the ON1 is sharp as well, but it's not too sharp. So you have a room to add extra sharpness if you want to in any software in the planet. Now, what about in the top? So we're gonna go to the top area. Again, in the bokeh, the ON1 has nice softness, where in the DXO D prime, if you look at this little long green branch, I think it's a branch. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I meant to say, here you have a little bit of graininess going on, where in the ON1 NoNoise AI, it's nice and smooth. Here as well, if you look at the little part of this leaf, again, you have all the details, but it's nice and smooth. In the DXO D prime version, it's a little bit grainier. I'm not saying at all any of them are bad. I'm saying it's interesting to look at certain things. For example, that DXO for me adds a little too sharpness, where Topaz, on the other hand, if we go back, there you go, that's the Topaz, has absolutely zero sharpness. And the ON1, clearly in this side, it's literally in between. You cannot say it's too sharp. You cannot say that there is no sharpness. It stays in between. And again, in ON1, I just showed you that you can actually add more sharpness if you wanted to, or reduce sharpness if you want to, which is important because in DXO D prime, you have no room for adding or reducing sharpness or noise. It's 100% automatic. But Topaz and ON1 NoNoise AI both has sliders to play with, so that it can reduce sharpness, it can reduce noise reduction, or add more than necessary. So you have more room, and both of them has automatic version. So If any photographer saying that DXO PURERAW meant to make life easier because, we don't have time to adjust, well, ON1 NoNoise AI has the same thing, automatic, and you can just move on. I just did that. And same with the Topaz. But at least you have room for minor adjustment, which the DXO PURERAW does not have. And again, if you look at the luminance, I'm going to show you like that. That's our original on the left. Then this is the ON1 NoNoise AI side by side. Both are the same photo. Then we are moving on to the Topaz Denoise Ai. Then we have the DXO. You can see the contrast and color changes a lot. There are more similarity with the DXO and the ON1 than the Topaz. Topaz stands out. Now, how about the usability? Usability or easy of useness. The Topaz is the hardest one for my side because, sometimes it has too many sliders and options, so it takes away a lot of time. But the automatic is not bad. The ON1 is also super easy to use. I just showed you. And DXO PURERAW does not have any kind of slider, so it's the easiest probably because you just drag and drop and export as DNG. So that's my take. So my take is ON1 is an excellent software, but it's not really as better than any of those. They're all kind of has their own character. Now, before I shut down this video, I'm going to show you how to use this software with ON1 NoNoise AI. So when you install the software, usually it asks you if you want to install it as a plugin. So you have to click yes. Once you're done, you can open Affinity Photo or Photoshop, it depends on what software you have. I'm going to close this one. And once you're done, of course, you're going to open the photo. For instance, I'm going to open the same photo and it's going to take some time. There you go. This is our photo. Make sure you go to detail and turn off any kind of noise reduction. Don't do anything. Personally, what I like to do, if you want me to tell you what my workflow, I make the luminance to 0, all the luminance to 0, only do color noise reduction. So I do color noise reduction, I don't do luminance noise reduction, and then I don't do anything else after. And then develop. Once you are done, make sure you Control J, make a duplicate layer, then go to the filter, then plugin, then go to ON1 and click ON1 NoNoise AI, and it will take some time. There you go, it's loading right now. And immediately you have the ON1 NoNoise AI 2020 on. And you look at the top, it opens as PSD. And it takes some time to load the image. And obviously it's taking a little bit long because you have now 2 software open, not just 1. In my case, 3 software. I have Affinity Photo, Topaz, ON1 NoNoise AI, and my screen recorder. So of course, my computer is all over the place. And also it says non-RAW photo detected. So because it's a PSD, ON1 NoNoise AI is optimized for raw photo. If you're using a non-RAW photo, the result will be good, but not as good as raw photo. Obviously, you got the idea. And now you have your typical noise reduction, and you can clearly see this looks so bad. I don't like the result, honestly. It just, I don't know, there's something bad going on. So I'm gonna reduce the color noise as much as I can, first of all. If you go back at the beginning of the video where I'm doing exactly the same thing, and if you compare with this part of the video with the affinity part, I'm not liking it already. So no, it's a big no. I'm going to reduce the luminance noise as well, and then put the slider up slowly, see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna cancel that. Work will be lost, and we are back to Affinity Photo. Even though you got the idea how to use ON1 NoNoise AI with Affinity Photo, I recommend you clearly with the example that do the noise reduction in ON1 first and do everything else after in Affinity Photo or Lightroom or wherever, because I just showed you I hate the result of ON1 NoNoise AI as a plugin where the standalone part did a better job. That's something interesting. If any of the guys from ON1 looking at it, fix it. I know that it's the primary stage, so you have a lot of updates coming. So this is something to consider in your future updates if you're looking. And please comment in the comment section below. Please, please, please subscribe. It helps me a lot. And most importantly, look after yourself. Call your parents. Go for a walk. Enjoy the nature. Love your life. And I see you next time. Bye-bye.